So in today's video, I want to walk you through exactly how I took this generic insurance brand and transformed it into a more premium, conversion-focused design that helps attract the ideal clients that Think Insurance Group was looking for. So this insurance company had already paid for 2 website redesigns before they even found me. Both times they ended up with something that looked fine but didn't actually work. This also isn't a unique situation, by the way. I see this pattern constantly. Business owners invest in a redesign, they get something prettier than what they had before, but nothing fundamentally changes. What I want to walk through today is what actually happened differently with this project. But before I show you what we built, I want to talk about why those first 2 attempts failed. Here's what happens most of the time with website redesigns, right? Someone reaches out and says that they want their website redone. The designer sends great, sends over some inspirational images, you approve, maybe does a quick call to understand the vibe that you're going for. Then they jump straight into the design. And what you end up with is a website that looks more modern than the old one, better colors, cleaner layout, maybe some nice animations, but it doesn't actually do anything different. The thing is, and this is what most people miss, a website redesign isn't a visual problem. It's a positioning problem. It's a clarity problem. It's at its core, it's who are we trying to attract and why should they care or why should they even consider us? So when Think Insurance Group came with me after 2 failed attempts, I told them, look, we're going to start completely from scratch. And we're not touching the design until we understand what this site is actually supposed to accomplish. So let me show you what that discovery process actually involved. Because I think that this is where most website projects go off track. The first thing I needed to figure out was who Think Insurance Group was actually trying to reach. And they weren't going after random individuals looking for cheap car insurance. It's not that type of insurance business. They're targeting established businesses, companies with over 50 plus employees who needed group health benefits. That is a completely different type of buyer. Different motivations, different decision-making process, different expectations. And even Kyle, the owner, said something early in our call that basically shaped the entire project.
Our value add has always been, and Todd and I have always said, we're not in a sales space, we're in a service space. The challenge is it's really, really easy to get referred into a 5 or a 10 or a 12 life group. This is our bread and butter. This is where you get more opportunity on the products you can offer. You get more opportunity on the strategies you can deploy. You get access to claims data, which really just means you can understand the health of the group and start to create plans that really take care of their demographic. So it's not one size fits all. And it doesn't happen until that space.
What he's describing there is a consultative relationship, not a transactional one. So right there, I knew that this website couldn't look or feel like a typical insurance site. It needed to communicate sophistication, partnership, strategic thinking. And the other thing that kept coming up was that most of their competitors are still pretty old school. A lot of paper processes, outdated technology. TIG wanted to be positioned as the modern tech-forward option, something that separates them from the rest of the competition, because that was their strong suit. They have adapted a lot of technology to be able to service their customers better than their competitors. Now, this is why the discovery matters, because without that conversation, I would have designed something that looked nice, but sent the completely wrong signals. I might have made it friendlier, more approachable when it needed to feel more strategic and professional. And after the discovery, I went straight into research mode. I started looking at their local competitors' websites, and honestly, there was a ton of opportunity. Most of them were using generic templates, basic layouts, and none of them stood out to me, which meant that if we could position TIG as more modern and strategic through design alone, they'd stand out pretty significantly. But I didn't stop there with just their direct competitors. I also started looking at companies outside of insurance that target the same type of buyer, business owners who are making strategic decisions about their company. And what I noticed is that a lot of B2B tech companies that target the same type of buyer were using darker color palettes, modern sans serif fonts, really clean interfaces. The visual language that they were using communicated forward thinking without having to explicitly say it. So I pulled that aesthetic into the local insurance space where almost nobody was doing it. This is the part that I think gets missed a lot. Design isn't just about making things look good. It's about making intentional choices based on where you want to be positioned in the market. So if TIG's site looked like everyone else's, then they just get lumped into everyone else. If it looks more sophisticated and modern, then they start attracting a different caliber of clients even before the first conversation begins. So at this point, we can actually start building. But notice, we're several days into this project and we haven't even opened a single design file yet. The first thing that we tackled was brand identity. I needed to find a font that could work for their logo and also as a headline font throughout their entire site. And I ended up going with, I believe, a font called Credo Display. It's a modern sans serif font that felt sophisticated and unique, but still approachable. We paired that with a dark background and off-white accents, a little bit of that tech-forward aesthetic that I mentioned earlier. And even though this wasn't technically a logo redesign project, I include brand identity work in every website build. And I do this because your logo, your fonts, your color choices, and your design assets, they all matter and they should all work cohesively and complement the rest of your website. So we also refined our existing logo. We made a couple small tweaks and adjustments so that it matches the new system. Now, this type of stuff isn't the case for all my clients. Some of them might need or require a full logo redesign as part of their project scope, but I also don't push services or products just to try to make an extra buck. That's very important for me. I don't know why, but I always try to help my clients save money anytime that I feel like something is not necessary, or if you spend this money, it's not going to move the needle forward. If it doesn't make sense to spend that money now, let's save it. Let's put that money into somewhere else that can make you 2x, 3x that amount. That type of logo redesign could come later down the line if it really doesn't make that big of a difference. But sometimes it does, because maybe they're about to get funded and they know that once they have the funds, they're going to launch fast. And they're going to be stuck with that brand identity if they don't change it now. So the next step after that was what I call user experience mapping. And this part is where most designers think of this in terms of pages. I like to think of this in terms of paths. Someone lands on your homepage. What are they trying to accomplish? What questions do they have? What's stopping them from taking the next step? So we mapped out multiple flows. The person who's ready to request a quote right away, the skeptic who needs to learn more first, the comparison shopper who's evaluating multiple providers, and so forth and so forth. Every path needed to feel simple and easy to navigate. One example, their competitors were using basic contact forms for quote requests. So we built a more robust multi-step form that was, visually cleaner, felt a bit more premium, but still simple to use. And on the back end, this also helped Think Insurance Group separate the leads that they were getting from group health benefit leads to just property and casualty insurance leads to people who were local versus people out of state, so that they can help them out better and faster as soon as they get their information. And another thing that helped Think Insurance Group a lot is that we built this website in Webflow, which has a CMS functionality. And that meant that TIG could update their blogs, their team pages, their educational content all on their own without having to hire us every time. Like I said, anytime you can save money, I like to pass that on to the client. So I don't necessarily charge monthly retainers or maintenance fees myself. I try to push that to the client and say, have your internal team do this. We'll send you tutorials and show you how to do all that. Super simple and easy. No technical experience needed. But at the end of the day, we also help them. And we do provide retainers for clients who want to be just completely hands off. All right. So this is what we ended up with. But here's the part that actually mattered, and it's what happened after we launched the site. TIG had prospects literally telling them that we chose you over other insurance companies because your website demonstrated that you clearly know what you're doing. The website became part of their sales process. It built trust before the first conversation even happened. We also developed outbound cold email campaigns and utilized their newfound brand identity to create strategic on-brand landing pages for their campaigns. And we had cold leads book calls directly through the landing page because of the trust and credibility that we showcase with our design and the content, the sales content that we put on our landing pages. And this is what I mean when I say that websites should be strategic tools and not just digital brochures. The site is working for them 24/7. It's pre-qualifying leads. It's positioning them against competitors. It's literally helping them close deals. That's the difference between a cosmetic redesign and a strategic one. One makes things look nicer, and the other one changes how your business shows up in the market and how people perceive you before even meeting you. So if you're taking notes, here's what I pull from this. If you're a business owner and your website isn't actively helping you grow, it's probably not a design problem. It's a clarity problem. You need to figure out who you're trying to reach, what makes you different, and why they should care. That strategy will then inform the design. If you're a designer, the thing that separates you from cheap template work isn't your aesthetic taste. It's your ability to think more strategically. Discovery, research, positioning, that's the value. That's what AI cannot replace. The reason that the TIG website works isn't the color palettes or the font choice. Those things matter to a certain extent, but they're downstream decisions. It works because every choice was connected to a business goal or a certain outcome. That's what makes something strategic instead of just pretty. And that's the pattern that I keep seeing. The projects that actually move the needle for clients are the ones where design is treated as a strategic tool, not a creative exercise.
So if you're a business owner or entrepreneur who is stuck looking like everyone else and wants a way to strategically stand out from the competition and attract your ideal clients by design, then feel free to reach out to me. I have my Instagram and my email below. Or if you're a website designer or if you're someone that just likes watching these type of videos, please be sure to subscribe because I have a ton more content coming out showing what I do for clients in the website design and marketing space. Take care for now, and I'll see you on the next video.